This is Savvy Wisdom,
the heart-to-heart podcast you didn't know you needed.
hosted by Dr. Tamika Sanders and Cheyennis Doom. Savvy Wisdom is a monthly interactive podcast for women who value their well-being and growth that highlights the unique challenges women face daily.
We talk about the relevant issues, their impact to our well-being, share expert insights, best practices, and provide resources and support for your journey right along with you. Dr. Tamika Sanders has 20 years of experience working with schools and businesses in the areas of training and development, public programming, and leadership development. Her work revolves around bringing a diversity of real-world perspectives into programming initiatives and creating strategic community partnerships that can generate revenue and provide access to resources and opportunities for marginalized groups.
Cheyennis Doom is a multi-talented Cali creative with 20 plus years of extensive banking experience, with a proven track record for driving transformative change and fostering a culture of excellence through process improvement, DEI, strategy planning, and program management. She is also an entrepreneur and focused on intentional well-being, with multiple offerings that allow her clients to connect, learn, inspire, and grow.
Have you ever felt like you were your own worst enemy, standing in the way of your own success and happiness? Well, we'll explore how self-doubt, fear of failure, and limiting beliefs can act as roadblocks on the path to realizing your full potential. Join us as we uncover the common ways we sabotage ourselves, whether it's through negative self-talk, perfectionism, or clinging to comfort zones. Hey. Welcome back.
Oh,
Hi.
yes. It is that time. Can you believe this is our
I can't. The
sixth
time is flying
episode?
by so fast.
Like,
It feels crazy too. Like it's almost
oh
it's
my
the middle of the
gosh.
year. We have gone, we're halfway through
Yeah.
the year and I still feel like it was January and we were celebrating New Year's a little while ago and here it is coming up. So
I know, like in my head, it's
yeah.
still the early part of the year. Um, but that it's like, no. We are thoroughly
We
in
are.
2024 right now.
It's
So
cool
this is
though, because our journey has been taking us both
oh
to
my
so many
goodness.
places. And I know those of you of listening, you've been able to kind of see that, but there's so much more in store that is still around the corner for both of us. And so we're so
Oh,
excited today to be talking about it. But first, we want to remind you all to just thank you all so much for just continuing to listen, to subscribe. We always need more. So please remember to share, to like, to subscribe because that's the way you get to know when the episodes are coming out. You get to see you can go back and look at the past episodes
mhm.
and see that journey and relive some of those journeys too. If there was an episode you really, really, really loved. So just make sure that you do that because we do it for you to inspire and motivate you, but it's also helping us. So we're going to get into today's episode. Yeah.
And I love that though, because I feel like, yeah, these first six
Yeah.
episodes are like part one, right? Like of just kind of setting the foundation and setting the stage for all of these amazing things that are to come. And actually, yeah, I think I'm going to do a binge section, a binge session for sure to kind of revisit these things because where we were in January, actually, we started filming in December, where we were in December versus today, like, you know, sometimes I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for the things that we have accomplished, big or small. And when you're like in the thick of it, sometimes it could be hard to see, like, wow, like all of that gradual change that's happened. So that's going to be really interesting to,
I like
to
that idea. I
revisit.
like the binge watching session. I do like that a lot because we have come a long way. And by the end of this year, when we have 12 episodes, that's going to be so much fun. That's going to be our
Ooh.
big celebration, y'all, in December when we do our
Oh
12th
my
episode. We are
gosh.
just going to be so excited. We might
Yes.
have a little champagne toast, Shy, just to commemorate.
Ooh, we should do that. I
So,
love that. I love that. And so, with that, today we're going to be talking about getting out of your own way. and kind of what that means. And so when we talk about getting in your own, really talking about is self-sabotage. And so that is self-sabotage. Those are behaviors, actions, or inactions that undermine your progress and prevents you from accomplishing your goals. And I love that. Again, it's actions or inactions, and it's intentional or unintentional. Sometimes we could be like our biggest obstacles and not even know it.
Yeah.
So I think this would be a good place for us to check
Yeah.
in on this.
Yeah. So we have some tough questions. They're always tough. Our check-in questions really get into it, but that's what we do. We don't poke at it. So two that we have today. One is, do you struggle with the lack of motivation when you're faced with important tasks? And then also, do you doubt your ability to really accomplish and achieve your goals? And so, you want to kick it off? You want to take one of those first?
You know, actually, yes. So the struggling with the lack of motivation when faced with important tasks, as you know, I've started my MAP program, and I'm in week 3 of the program, and I have homework assignments due by the end of this week. I have vendor events for my jewelry business all weekends. And I know that there's something else that I'm forgetting that I've been like working on all week. And it's been a struggle. It's definitely been a struggle because I actually have a lot of important tasks, and it's just having that discernment on which one to focus on for the moment. And then of course knowing, and I think we've talked about this before, nothing is ever straightforward. You think you're going to go, check off a box and get something accomplished, and then you like sit down to go and do it, and you're like, okay, this is actually going to be an entire project. And so I know for me, I struggle with that motivation if I can't see that clear like light at the end of the tunnel, or if it doesn't feel like it's going to be something that's going to be straightforward for me. And then on the doubting my ability to achieve my goals, I know that I'm very competent. I know that I'm very capable, but definitely, and again, we've talked about it this year, having that disruption to my professional career, and literally like we're a year into it now, like that really really did something to my confidence and in my ability to achieve my goals, especially since I'm no longer tied to a formal organization and objectives. My objectives all have to do with my livelihood, all very very important, but I'm being pulled in so many different directions. And again, just again, having that discernment on, am I spending my energy on the right things and in the right way? So
Yeah.
um
Hmm.
I know that there's some areas that I'm probably self-sabotaging in, but I'm also one person, and I don't want to operate in superwoman mode. So yeah.
Yeah. You hit on it with just the not working when you're working for yourself. Your deadlines aren't the same. When you work with someone or for somebody, there's actual deadlines, due dates, there's things that are always due, right? But when you're working for yourself and
Yeah.
you're building, you have to give yourself deadlines, because otherwise it won't get done. And I'm the worst at that. I am so great at planning and writing everything out, and then I'll go back and be like, ooh, I didn't do not one of these things I wrote down. This looks like a good plan in theory, but we ain't done none of this yet. So
Yeah.
I have to try to hold myself accountable
Yeah.
to the deadlines, and I have to set them, and then not miss them, not say, oh, this deadline is just for me, it doesn't mean anything. I have to hold myself accountable to that deadline so that I can make sure that I'm actually accomplishing it,
Ooh.
because it's really hard when there doesn't feel like there's a reward or a stick, a stick or a carrot tied to that goal. It's something among many things that have to get done. And then, girl, with the so much going on, I will procrastinate, or sometimes I just be like, I just don't. Today I'm not doing nothing, right? You just have those days, and
Yeah.
we earn them, and we need those days. But then sometimes I feel guilty. I'm like, I should have been doing all this stuff, but you need the time. You need the time. So
You do like self-care. Self-care isn't selfish, and so I have to remind
yeah.
myself of that sometimes,
Mhm.
because yes, if you don't sit down, your body will sit you down for
That,
you, right?
yes.
And so I've been like really, especially since we've talked about this in previous episodes, I've been really just paying attention to my body and paying attention to my nervous system and paying attention to my energy, and allowing myself the grace to just breathe for a little bit. And I think for the most part, I've been doing a pretty good, like, there really isn't room for me to procrastinate, like, for real, to be honest. And part of that, it's like, okay, it's very, very stressful right now. But at the same time, I did kind of lock myself into these, I guess, obligations, shall we say, so that I could get myself back into the mode of being productive. But I also know I'm not trying to go back to what it was before. And I know that's something that a lot of people, especially dealing with the pandemic and everything, like, if we're going back to the way it was before, then something is wrong.
That's hard. Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. There's a lot to go there. So, but we're doing it. We stay forward, and the good thing is that we're aware of it, and so we can adjust course and go, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm blocking my blessings right now. I'm in my own way. I need to get out of my own way. So, which,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go
No, I
ahead.
said,
Yeah.
which leads us to exactly that. It's like, how do
Yes.
you know? What are signs that you are self-sabotaging yourself, so that hey, wake up, change course, and stop, right? And you have to be
Yeah.
aware of you're doing it. And so some of those signs could be, the procrastinating, and we both talked about that, or sometimes you just dwell on your mistakes, and when you do that, you can't see all the good that you have done, and the progress you have made.
Yeah.
All you can see are the mistakes. You are, breaking promises to yourself. If you set a deadline for yourself like I do, keep it, don't break it, because if you start doing that to yourself, that's horrible. If you can't count on you, then you are in big trouble.
Yes.
um
And that's one of the four agreements, right? Be impeccable with your word,
yes, even
and
to you.
you are your greatest asset. So how could you be breaking your promises to yourself? How can you be expected to show up for other people?
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of people will show up for other people and will not show up for themselves. And
Yeah.
I encourage you to go back and watch that self-care episode.
Because we talked about that, because women, we are synonymous for that. Like, we will care for everybody else, and then we're getting 5%, 3% of our 100% pie, and not, and suffering for it, and nobody knows, because we're there for everyone else. But then when we need people to be there for us, we look around and there's no one there. So yeah.
And we're so good at hiding it
Yeah.
too. We're so good at normalizing these
Yeah.
things and just pushing through, which we talk about in Superwoman Syndrome episode.
Yeah. What are some other ones, Shine, here, when you're thinking about self-sabotage? Because there's
Yeah.
so many on there. What are some for you that just stand
Ooh.
out, that you're like, yep, that's me right there?
So you prioritize what is comfortable rather than what is healthier. Let's see. Ooh. You do not communicate your expectations. This one is definitely one that's kind of big for me, again, because I'm really living in a lot of ambiguity at this moment. I recognize I am on a big personal journey right now, where I'm rediscovering myself and rebuilding myself, professionally, personally, spiritually, like all of the things. And with that, it's like, okay, I don't want to be boxed in, and I don't want to conform or assimilate to anything anymore. Like, I want to be doing things like as myself, and without the pressures of what other people are expecting. But then it makes it a challenge for me to communicate my expectations, because I'm like, well, for me, I feel like I don't want to block my blessings by closing myself off or narrowing things too much.
Yeah.
um, let's see. I will say, Well, I'm looking at you. Make excuses for your behavior. I can't really think of any like recent like situations with that. So I don't
Mhm.
think that one is one. But refusing, I would say the refusing to seek help, but that one definitely is nuanced because there's an abundance of help out
Yeah,
there for a
there you
price.
go. Poor
For a price. And the way things are going right now, I don't really have, I'm not necessarily in the situation to necessarily to pay that price. Especially, when it's like death of a thousand subscriptions, death of a thousand service fees and whatnot. So I would say the refusing to seek help. And the irony is if I actually could invest in getting the help, it would actually clear up some of the things that are on my plate. So it's like this real catch
It is.
22, to be
It
honest.
is.
The answer is I need funding. And we could do a whole episode on funding for women.
And there is, and we have one. Looking at your finances, we're gonna have one coming up about that. So definitely.
Yes, really excited about that. What about for you on your signs that you may be self-sabotaging? Are there any
Yeah,
others that are kind of standing out to
definitely
you
the
right now?
procrastination, the refusing to seek help. And again, it goes back to not because I don't want help. It's just sometimes it's not the right help because they don't have the right, they
Yeah.
have the want and the desire, but they don't have the skill to help me in the way that I need. Or it's a skill that's going to cost more than I, currently have to invest in.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree. And then the communicating expectations, that's a really, really big one. And I think it's hard sometimes because there's some new things I'm forming and that we're forming and partnerships. So it's just like
Yeah.
coming at it when it's hard to set expectations when you're still trying to figure out what you even want it to be. And so but
Yeah.
it's important, especially in new partnerships and new things, to say, here's what I'm gonna put into this. Here's what I expect you to put into it. Is there anything else, right? And so both people
Yeah.
have that opportunity, or partners. One that I think you should watch out for is that very last one that says that you're always ready to argue over things that really don't matter, or if you get really defensive, if someone's holding you accountable for something that you
Mm.
said you were going to do and you get defensive, you have
Yeah.
to stop and pause, because you're not really angry at them, you're angry at yourself because you're not being honest and true to yourself, and you're procrastinating and not holding up your end of the bargain, but you don't want
Ooh.
nobody calling you on your stuff. So that is a big one. If you find yourself getting defensive about it, stop, pause, reflect, and go back and go, okay, why am I getting so defensive? And who am I really upset about? Or upset with? And
Yeah.
so that's one that I say watch out for. I don't do that one, thank goodness, but I know a lot of people that do. And so
Yeah.
I just stop pointing it out. I'm like,
Yeah.
cool, you really don't need me to be your accountability partner then, because you don't
Oh
want
my
to be
gosh.
accountable, and that is okay.
Yes, it's so yeah, not me personally, but I was talking to one of my other girlfriends and she was telling me about a potential client and they did the call to kind of get their discovery session. But the client was like, "Oh, I already know that and I already know that." And it's like, "Okay, so then what exactly are you needing my assistance with?"
Exactly. Why are you wasting my time, basically?
Yes, like
If you know it all, then you don't need my
if
help.
you yes, then go do
So
that.
true.
And you gotta and the reason why it's so important to be conscious of that is because then you start to then you're sabotaging your support systems,
That
which
part.
again, this is all part of one big cycle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So definitely watch out for that.
And that is so true. We've talked about that too. A lot of times, if you look like you've always got it together, people aren't going to offer the support because you look like you got it together. They don't know the inside. You might be
Yeah.
drowning. And so, yeah, being honest and being vocal about when you do need that help. Yeah.
Ooh, so then that those were some good signs. And so how does it look? How does self-sabotage look like? And ooh, this first one right here. This first one and won't go down the human design rabbit hole and our sacral energy and the yes no but that saying yes when you actually want to say no, and that's probably linked to people pleasing, which we know is part of a trauma response. I feel like that one's a big one, because then you find yourself, you're like, wait a minute, how am I carrying? Actually, someone did this amazing analogy at this sister circle that I was at a few months ago, where she had these hula hoops. I don't have my hula hoop in this room, but like, anyway, she had her like, she had her hula hoops, and she was just kind of talking through it. And she's like, all right, so I got this one hula hoop and I'm doing really well. But somehow all of a sudden now I have added this hula hoop to my plate. Okay, I kind of got this. Okay, I could do the two hula hoops at the time. And then she adds a third and a fourth, and it just starts getting really, really chaotic. And that's the best analogy I can give for that one.
Yeah.
Oh, and the running away when things don't go as planned. Like, my one of my biggest self-saboteurs is avoidance.
It just goes so funny.
Like, gotta go.
Like, please, about.
Yeah.
Gosh, mine is like it's the next one, the never taking breaks even when you're exhausted. And that is so bad, because then, like you say, you don't shut down, but your body will make you shut down. And that's usually I'll get sick or I'm not feeling good. And so I physically can't go on because I have just exhausted myself trying to get something done or make something perfect. And I have to just stop. And then and then taking on more responsibility than I can handle. I think it goes back to superwoman syndrome, but we both do that because we have a lot of skills, we have a lot of talent, so people will just naturally will come to us and need our assistance. And because it's projects we actually enjoy and that we like and we know we can do, we'll say yes. And then all of a sudden all those yeses, and we're like, wait. And then you feel bad because you don't know which one to give up because you genuinely like all of them, but you no longer have the time for all of them. So you have to kind of go back and be like, all right, now I have to go back and tell this person or these people, group, but I can't do this. And that, like,
so I'm gonna run away.
It's so bad, right? But it's like we have to be okay with doing that. But I have to get better at saying no, and I am getting better at saying no before it gets to that point. Like, and so before I would just say yes to people. So now instead of saying that, I say, you know what, let me check. Sounds like a great project. Let me look at my schedule and see. And that's my, I say that to save myself from saying yes in the moment because I love it. And then I go look at my calendar and I'm like triple double booked and I'm like, so.
Oh, yes. Thank you for that reminder, because there's this thing, and I need to work on in, okay, just because the person is in your face right now asking for this thing doesn't mean that you owe them a response. You don't owe you don't owe anyone anything, to be honest, but but there's just something about especially, and there are people who are very, very good at manipulating that as well. Of, well, I thought you said that this was something you enjoyed, or they'll try to kind of play to what it is that they know that you like. So that you're feeling like, oh shoot, now I'm not being impeccable with my word because I said this is what I'm about. So if my actions aren't matching up to that, now I'm looking like I'm a flake or wishy-washy and unreliable. So and that is probably also related to the being, too hard on yourself again, and just feeling like you just owe everything to everyone, because if you don't do what people want you to do, then you risk losing those people in your life, right? Or losing those opportunities. But the truth is, if you are not able to fully commit to something, if you're not able to do something the way that it deserves to be done, then you're gonna end up thwarting those relationships anyway. And it's probably going to be worse. Like, I don't even know which way is going to be worse.
I'd rather not show up than show up and do something badly that could have been, A++, and it's, a B or a C because I didn't have 100% of my time, and I'm juggling a million things. And you bring up a good point about people trying to like manipulate you and make you feel bad. And don't feel like saying no is making you seem like you're not impeccable with your word and holding up to those things you're true. You're just also saying, I have a limited amount of time. And so I already
Yeah.
have X amount of projects devoted to this thing that I am also passionate. I don't currently have time to add one more, but I love your project. And if I do have time, I will come back to it. Right. And that's how I have to, because I've had people try to manipulate me too. I'm like, don't, don't do that. It's like,
Yeah.
because I'll say that. I was like, so you want me to double book and give your events or your role, less priority and basically half-ass it, right? Like, would you like me to do that? Or would you like me
Yeah.
to be able to put 100% of my focus and time and make it the quality it deserves? And sometimes I put it at that, and they're like, oh, you're right. Because I'm like, I will rather not
Ooh.
show up than show up wrong. So that is my
Oh, that's the art of kind of not turning it back,
saying
but that
no.
there's that art of yeah, being able to redirect the question is something, and it's so interesting because I'm sure you know it all too well, having been in corporate America, and some of those experiences stares, you know what I'm staring in, but
But even just
and
consulting
yeah.
too, because clients will try to ask you all kind of things. They're paying for one thing and they're trying to like loop in a whole bunch of other things. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're paying for these
This is not the
services.
scope.
Right. This is your scope. If you want all these other things, we can talk about that. But that means we're going to renegotiate, and because it's going to cost. I'm not
Yeah.
just throwing in all those things for free. And one, I may not have time, because I have got other clients
Yeah.
also, and I don't only plan to dedicate X amount of time with you. And now you're wanting, the whole enchilada, and you only had a slice. So
It's the, what is it? Champagne dreams
yes.
on a beer budget.
Right. Mhm.
Oh my
But yeah,
goodness.
the art of
Oh
saying
my
no, that should be a
goodness.
whole episode too. It's like, how do you say no and redirect, keep the relationship, keep the opportunities, but protect your time and your space and the relationship,
Mm.
right? So
You know what? I bet we will get into that when we talk about knowing
yeah,
yourself and knowing your
there
worth.
you go. There you go. We will plug it in there then.
Absolutely. And so, what does it look like to unblock your blessings? You want to get into the 9 steps for getting out of your own way?
Yeah, I'll hit on some that kind of really resonate with me. The big one is, well, the two, just do it. Like, if you're, whether you're scared of it or not, just start it. And then my other one is always remember my why. Like, remember your why. Remember why you started it, what it means to you, your goals. And if you never set the why of the intention of what you wanted and why you're doing it, always make sure you do that and write it down, keep it somewhere, so that when stuff starts getting crazy and you're just like, why am I doing this? And you just want to throw up your hands and say, I'm done. You can go back and be like, no, I can't, because this is why. This is what it meant to me, and this is where it was going to lead me. It's hard right now, but I'm going to stick through it because of this why. And then again, holding yourself accountable. Do it. If we don't hold
Yeah.
ourselves accountable and we can't depend on ourselves, then that's the end of the beginning there. You got to be able to do that for yourself. And of
Oh
course,
my
self-care. It's going to
goodness.
be engaging in self-care. Give yourself those breaks. Recognize when you need to relax, and then recognize when you might be procrastinating and you need to just do it. What about you?
Like Nike.
Right, just do it.
So that remember your why is something that deeply resonates with me because it isn't officially summer yet, but we actually had a heat advisory warning today in the Sacramento area. And I'm like thinking about like, so summer, again, summer's when I come to life and want to be outside and all of that. But then also summer, well, with my business being 12th summer, like it's very, very much connected to me having a lot of activity in the jewelry space and being at a lot of vendor events and all of that. And for the remember your why, like in thinking about the program that I'm in, I'm like, so I really thought it was a good idea to start this master's program in summertime. Like, why would I do that? But then I have to remind myself, well, guess what? You're going to be done with this by the end of August. And also, we cannot live off of our retirement forever.
No.
And so like we've got to it is finite. Like we've got to start, we got to start getting back into the water again, right? And so I remind myself with it, even when I'm feeling very, very pressured. And it's like, I'm telling you, like there are assignments that are like, one way or another, you're gonna get this internship and you're gonna get this job in this field through these assignments and these interviews and doing dashboards and profiles of companies and everything, and updating our LinkedIn and updating our resume and how can we help you. And we have a career, we have a career guidance counselor, and it's like, okay, so they are showing me that there are all of these things to set me up for success. But of course, because I'm just balancing and juggling so many things, I'm like, oh my God, this is a lot. It's like, I need this and I want this, but it's a lot. And so I would definitely say that that's very much connected to removing unnecessary pressure.
That's right.
And I feel like when we were kind of planning for this, I did have an example for that, because like there was something that I was like, you know what? I don't actually have to do this. And I just can't think of it off the top of my head. But when I tell you, it just felt so liberating and so satisfying to realize, like, you do know that you are the director of your show, right? Like, even if, there may be people holding you accountable to things, or there may be things that you have signed up for, you're ultimately the director. And then let's see. Yeah, so comparing yourself to others, that's never been an issue for me, thankfully. Like, I'm my biggest competition, to be honest. Like, I'm comparing myself to what was disrupted. I don't have the capacity or time to be comparing myself to anyone else. Acknowledging your strengths. I don't know if that one resonates with me as much, because I think I'm pretty balanced in understanding that. And then take can't out of your vocabulary. My wonderful friend Chanel, it's kind of ingrained in me. If there's something that I'm saying that maybe is some negative, confronting the negative self-talk, I do hear her voice saying cancel. So I've been kind of like preemptively doing these things to get out of my own way. But yeah, there are definitely some that I do get stuck on.
Yeah. The acknowledging your strengths, I think that's really important for people to do, because again, sometimes if you're only concentrating on the mistakes, or you're looking at where maybe you want it to be versus where you are, you can really, and then you start looking at your peers, right, that are leaps and bounds ahead of you, maybe that are the same age, same experience, same kind of, track, right? And they are leaps and bounds ahead. It can be really easy to compare ourselves to others and then not value the strengths and the unique gifts that you bring, as a person. And so I think you do want to make sure that you don't get in that trap. Yes, you may not be where you want to be, but as long as there's breath in your body, you can still get there. And by recognizing and using the strengths you have, that's how you do it. That's how you get there, right? So yeah, I try not to compare myself to other people either, because one, I'm original. Like you say,
I'm one of one. I cannot do it the way Beyonce does it, where she's like, I'm one of one.
So I know, bring the queen in. Yeah, but it's like, so I've never felt that. Now, there have been times in my life that I felt that I wished I was more like other people, just so that I blended in and I didn't stick out, but I never was comparing myself to other people. But there are a lot of people that do. And again, it's really easy in that career track where people are like, especially when you start reaching those decades, you turn 30, you turn 40, you turn 50, you're looking at the other people in those same decades and going, well, gosh, they're there and I'm here. What's wrong with me? Right. And so don't get in that trap. Go your own pace. Look at your strengths. Don't compare your journey to someone else's, because you don't know if they had fast tracks and other things that help them get there at a faster rate, right? Versus you might not have had those things. So value it, and then again, confront that negative self-talk. That's part of the, for shy, it's your cancel, but it's anytime you start feeling like, or an opportunity, you see a job you want to apply for, you see a career you want to try, you want to see a business you want to start, and your immediate, whether it's your brain or someone else saying, you wouldn't be able to do that, you're not going to be successful enough, no one's going to want to buy your product, you have to immediately stop and replace that with something else, and or go back and pause and go like,
Yeah.
well, what would make somebody want to buy this, or what would make, if you feel that, and then start
Yeah.
doing a little bit of work on that. So those are some of the ways to get out of your own way. But again, for both of us,
And I don't,
remembering that why, that's the biggest one, when you start feeling like turning around and stopping.
and I was looking for a physical book, but I'm remembering that I have it electronically. And the book is called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And that is something that we were encouraged to read prior to starting this program. So we could really, really, like, everyone's heard about fixed mindset and growth mindset, but this, I feel like it's like, it really does help to ingrain that understanding in you of what those two mindsets are. And it was actually eye opening for me because I've always considered myself to have a growth mindset. But even I got trapped into a fixed mindset in a particular area because I was so focused on feeling like a failure, even though this layoff had nothing to do with my abilities or my skills. Literally, it was not, it had nothing to do with me, but it was the continued unemployment that was making me feel like I was a failure. And it was then putting me into that fixed mindset of like, okay, am I not good enough? Like, so
Yeah.
I highly encourage, and of course, we'll be sharing that in the resources to read that book, because it definitely is going to be an eye-opening experience. You may have a growth mindset in some areas, but you may need a tune-up in some others.
That is a really, really great point. And we will put that book in our resources because I want to check it out. But your mindset, you're exactly right about that. And that, if don't let one bad thing that happened make you feel like a failure in everything, right? Or you've got one bad
Yeah.
relationship, or you keep having relationships where they're not turning out, or people are being dishonest, or they're just not showing up for you. Don't internalize that and feel like, well, what's wrong with me? Why does this keep happening to me? It's like, no. So it goes back to that mindset. So thank you for mentioning that, Shari.
And there is a flip side to it as well. When you are so accustomed to success and things going your way and your strengths always coming through for you to make things happen, again, that's what was so eye opening to me. Like, I've just been used to, if I do X, Y, and Z, if I follow this path, if I follow this formula, this is what's going to happen. And it had been pretty predictable, right? And then once it was no longer working that way, it's like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
Like, like it like, I don't, does not compute.
Your foundation of what you
So
had been taught to believe, and all of a sudden it wasn't true anymore. And so, completely understandable. It
yeah.
can definitely cause you to doubt yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the consequences of self-sabotage, and what's really at stake when we don't get out of our own way?
This
Do you
is
want to talk about that
important.
a little bit,
Yeah.
or
Blessings, favors, gifts. These are all the things, right? Your well-being. If you're, let's say, what does Langston Hughes says about a dream deferred, right? Like, what happens to a dream deferred?
oh,
If you
it's
are
to a
making
dream
all of these
deferred. Yeah.
plans and have all these great aspirations and they never come true, that is your
Yeah.
well-being. You become one of those people, again, that mindset that something is wrong with you, that you aren't enough, and that can mentally, physically, emotionally really set you back. And all of you probably know somebody like that either their heart got broken
Yeah.
or their dream got broken, and you can see they are a shell of the person that they used to be. So your well-being, or you're just
Yeah.
overexhausting yourself, your well-being is messed up. Your relationships as well,
Yeah.
because you are closing yourself off from the opportunities and the people and the gifts that you could be receiving, because you're not open intentionally or unintentionally, or your actions
Yeah.
intentionally or inaction is making that it's putting a wall there between those relationships and the opportunities you could have, and then your performance, right? When you're blocking your blessings,
Yeah.
your performance is subpar. It is not 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, that affects your relationships and respects your well-being. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start
It
blocking it and
really
everything
is.
starts going, kind of in a downward spiral. And that's what you believe that you are based on that, when all it would take is changing a couple of those things in your mindset to create the
Yes.
positive self-fulfilling prophecy versus the negative spiral. What about you, Shy? What do you think
Yeah.
about?
And yeah, as you mentioned that, it also makes me think about of course the universe. And um that's the thing. I came to this revelation, I can't recall if it was the day that I started, well, kind of faux started my lock journey back in January, but I kind of had this revelation of I've been very, very adept at utilizing and innovating with what I have, but I didn't really know how to attract what it was that I needed.
Okay.
Um, and so I definitely do feel like this relates to that. Like the universe can't provide you what it is that you need if if you're jumbling up the the message, or you're just so focused on, well, I'm just gonna, you're again that fixed mindset
Mhm.
of well, this is what I know and I'm not open to anything
Yeah.
else. So I would definitely say like that's something that it makes me think of. And then the other thing is like if you start to find that, your phone is dry, if you're finding that people are not reaching out to you, and like miracles don't seem to be trickling in the way that they used to be, then that's also going to be a sign that, wait a minute, it's you've probably been operating in that in self-sabotage mode. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would say those are, ooh. And they're not good and these are not good consequences
Yeah.
at all, because you don't know what you don't know. And that's the thing, like life is so beautiful, life is so amazing, and there's so many adventures to be had. But if you are standing in your own way, you're never gonna get to see that.
Yeah.
And again, it's going to be that self-fulfilling
Yeah.
prophecy.
Yeah.
Ooh, so yeah,
Ooh,
let's also get into some best practices here. Like, how do we get into that thrive
I
mentality?
love that thrive
So,
mentality.
ooh, I love. Okay, so start dreaming in strategy, not theory. Think about how you could create or accomplish something, not if you could. And that probably does link to the setting proper expectations, because again, and these are all very foundational things, like what is your mission? What is your vision? What are your objectives? What are your goals?
Mhm. Look the monster, I'm saying lock, look the monster square in the eye. This goes back to just doing it. And I love it. You're not stuck because you're lazy. You're stuck because you're still in denial that this is what you want to do. You just got to go and do it.
Stop trying to master your habits and start trying to master your mind. Okay,
There
see,
you go.
your mind is the control panel, and it needs to be attended first. Like, so much is tied to this. And
Mhm.
one of my first two classes in this program is this pro seminar on human behavior. And I definitely don't want to derail the conversation, but it's honestly, people's inability to master their mind not only affects them, but it also affects your future generations.
Yes.
And a lot of the discussions that we've been having in class and some of the examples that other students have been bringing up, it's like, it feels like a mindset class should be mandatory training for all parents to be, in my mind, because a lot of us have, as adults, are doing so much labor and so much deconditioning simply
Yeah.
because those were not understood. That was not understood, and that wasn't embedded in us properly.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, so
No,
that's another conversation though.
I love it. But you're right. Everything starts in the mind, right? The other one is eradicate negative associations. This goes by, again, stop putting your energy into people that are negative and aren't on team you, but also stop putting your time there. So it's your time, your energy, with people that
Yeah.
are constantly not building you up, but like helping kind of build, like tear you down. Just, you don't have the time, eradicate it so that you can be around positivity. You can feel better mentally, physically, and emotionally, and again, accomplish what you're wanting.
Yes, and stop seeing adversity as a
That's the
setback.
one.
Start seeing it for what it really is. It is a point in your life with which you are primed to experience the most radical growth and transformation, and every obstacle is an
It
opportunity.
is.
Um, it and I feel like this is a lesson that just continues to
Yeah.
get, really continues to get drilled in through this time, and it is something that I have to keep reminding myself of, when things, and oh, that's what it is, because last month we talked about getting, comfortable with
Yeah.
discomfort, and it's usually in that deep discomfort, and when things are like, man, this is like a lot of work, or
Yeah.
gosh, this is really stretching me, beyond what my current capabilities are, like that's when the greatest miracles happen. I'm sure you could pick any major success story or someone that people admire, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to find that their passion and what it was that they brought to the world and their offerings was born from pain, born from frustration, born from some type of setback.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it goes back. I think I said this on the last episode, but that one of my favorite quotes is, sometimes when things are falling apart, they're actually falling together. So it's like,
Yes.
you may get a divorce from someone. You may get laid off from a job. You may have to move to another country for something, right? But all of those things
Yeah.
in that adversity, those challenges, you are gaining new relationships, new opportunities, a new perspective on life, a new insight to yourself, and things that you didn't ever think that you might be able to live through, or that you could do. Or you have time to invest in a hobby, or create a business, or find new partnerships. You
Yeah.
never know. And so don't always assume that adversity is a negative. Start looking at it as if, what am I supposed to learn from this, and where can I build, and what is there opportunity in this adversity? And if you see it that way, again, you get into that entrepreneurship mindset of what problem
Yeah.
do I want to solve, and what problem can I solve, versus I'm stuck. This is the
Yeah.
problem and I can't do anything about it. Mhm.
And I know, well, okay, we did talk about it in getting comfortable with discomfort, but I do feel like something else on here to mention is change is
Yes.
inevitable, and we can't stay.
No,
Unfortunately, like as much as you may love where you're at, like
it's going to change.
you can't stay there forever. And it's like, I don't know how many times, how many ways that I have to see that in action, but
Yeah.
it is a reality.
Yes.
So I feel like this was, again, like I feel like this was a great sort of wrap up of part one
Yes.
of Savvy Wisdom, of laying this foundation for ourselves so that we can get to the juicy, the fun part that we've been like, it's like,
Working
okay, the
toward.
reward, right? For everything we've been working
I know it.
towards. And I'm so excited about that, because we're going to be talking about in our next episode knowing yourself and knowing what you want, and probably going to be getting into knowing your worth as well. And because again, that could be a source of frustration for a lot of people in their relationships. And I'm sure I've said it before, like, what does this woman want? Like, how, I don't know, like they don't, people need to understand what parts they're
Yeah.
playing. And it's really hard to do that if you are indecisive and if you don't know who you are.
Mhm. And then be okay with asking for what you want to. Once you know what you want, ask for it, and don't be afraid to ask for it. Because if someone says no, great, that's not your person, that's not your job, that's not your
Yep,
opportunity. But don't be afraid to ask for it, because closed mouths don't get fed, right? If you don't ask, you'll
that's
never know.
right.
Yep.
Yes. So this was so awesome today. This was so awesome today. I'm glad that we had to have this, not had to have, but I'm glad that we had this
Mhm.
conversation today. And I'm just looking forward to our continued
I
growth.
definitely are. And as always, we'll share resources. The book mindset will definitely make sure we had a lot of really great
Hmm.
just resources that and sites that we looked at today to just think about what does this
Yeah.
actually mean. So we'll make sure that we share those resources with you. But again, thank you for being on this journey with us. Hopefully it helped you look at what you're
Yay.
doing in your life so that you can not block your blessings and you can keep them flowing. And then by the end of the year, get to celebrate with us as we do in our champagne toast to,
Yes. Oh
to
my
how
God.
far we've all
Yes. I
come
cannot wait for
together.
that.
So thank you.
Yay. All right,
All
girl.
right. Till next time.
Here's how to connect with me for any of your business or educational consulting needs.
Here's how to connect with me for any of your business and individual needs.
We hope you connect with us on Facebook and Instagram.
Knowing yourself is about discovering what makes you tick. Among other things, it means learning your likes and dislikes, unearthing your personal beliefs and values, and knowing your boundaries. Join us as we explore ways to know yourself better and ask for what you want.